I do hope that the last video that we put up, guys, can serve as one of those videos that you can understand how we can observe the probabilities of an upside before the catalysts can actually come in. And that's not to say that there's like a magic thing or that there's like this little voodoo or magic ball trickery or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's nothing like that. It's just a matter of there is always someone somewhere that knows something about someone or something else, right? So this is a very, very curious situation, as the last thread of analysis that we put up was before any of this news happened. So guys, we got this massive, incredible news saying that the SEC's long-running case against Ripple officially is over. Now, among that, there's a slew of good catalysts actually coming in left and right. Now, including this, Trump signs executive order allowing private equity and crypto into 401ks, which is, I mean, we're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars in that in the 401k space, right, guys? Aside from that, I have a couple other things that have popped up here for you, right? So Vivo Power to purchase initial $100 million of Ripple shares, effectively buying XRP at an implied 47 cents per token. And then this here, right? Ripple to buy stablecoin payments firm rail for $200 million, guys. Acquisitions. I mean, we're talking about broader market support, right? Government support. The ruling, guys. It's an enormous amount of news that has happened here, and this is what helped rally the XRP asset to the targets of which we spoke about in that video before any of these threads came out. We spoke of a specific $3.33 zone to $3.50, and in the price action here from the following me here into this screen right over here, guys. You can see that we ran very much close to that $3.40 zone, right? Very, very much into the 338, 339 area. It's incredibly impressive, the run that we got. And now I see that it's pulling back. And I know that this is like, getting people a little shook. And I understand. So we're going to go ahead and break down the probabilities of what's happening here now. But before we get started, please do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, do everything necessary to get this thing to live long, thrive, and survive. My name is Arca. I'm actually coming out to you here on a Friday, a beautiful sunny Friday on August 8th from Los Angeles, California at 8:17 a.m. Pacific time, right, guys? And we are looking at XRP asset at $3.23, falling from a high of around 338, and also right here, XLM asset also making that great move to the upside. We expected a potential 47-cent run, but we almost got there, right? 46.9 on that, and now we're getting that pullback. It's okay, guys. The reason we are pulling back here is because there is a present breakout from a zone that we must back test before there is a continuation to the upside. So we're going to go ahead and find out exactly what that is. Now, take a look over here, guys, as we are facing a very, very significant sell signal from the Alpha LITE algorithm, right, guys? So this absolutely gave us a buy signal down there in the 283 area, sell signal at 305, buy signal at 293, and now we're getting a signal right around here at the 329 zone. Not bad, if I say so myself, guys. Make sure to grab yourself the buy and sell signals in the description below, and make sure to send me your proof of purchase and your TradingView username so you can have a lifetime access to your Alpha 1 or Alpha LITE algorithm. Okay, so enough of that shill, and let's go ahead and dive straight into what could be happening here. So we're going to use this chart here, guys, on the XRP. You know what? We can use a 5-hour chart, but I want to display to you this as clean as I can, right, guys? So we're going to get rid of some of these things that we don't need anymore. Okay, so for example, this array here, we don't need that either. So I want you to focus on troughs. I want you to focus on areas that could be resistance. For example, you know that this area here from moving up, right? We're moving. Our topside target, sure. Well, it's $3.52 or $3.50, like we had mentioned before. It's fine. It's just that we broke out of this area here. We were down here. Remember that we were talking about a three flat is how we said it in the video. We're at 3 flat right now, right? So if you look upward, I know that this is one that we broke out of, but the significant breakout zones that we broke out of were from here, and here. Okay, so that makes a gigantic range of resistance that we are presently at. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw that in real quick and observe. So right in this zone here, right, we know that this is one area right there as well, and we broke out of this zone here. Look how alike this topside area is to not only this over here, right, and this up here, right? There's all this resistance, there's all this resistance, and we broke out of this area. So it makes it a bit of a complex zone for us to, you know, break out of. It's just a lot of these things are usually step by step, right, guys? They are like the way that we spoke here the last time, right? We're consolidating in an area, we false break, come back down, right? We validate a zone, we do it again, we come back into that zone, we do it again, and it creates this type of effect, right? So in this case, it looks like we're starting to make that first move, consolidation, we break, right? We go false break and we come back in and we validate like this, and then we make another move back to the implied to the price objective of that formation, right? And then we do it over and over and over again, just the way that it's been done historically, right? You can actually see that pattern happen over and over and over again in a macro sense. In a tiny sense, sure, you have one here, you have one here, over here, and then you fail, right? But that's because you broke out of this area here. Guys, there's a whole bunch of dynamics that are happening over and over again through the larger and larger time frames. All we have to do is sort of look back and then really understand what it is that is actually happening, right, guys? So you break out of this zone here, right? That's your 260. You break out of it. Of course, we're going to make this rally, get a false breakout, right? And then come back to that 260, validate it, and then continue upward. But within that whole thing that's happening in a major time frame, there are the smaller time frames that we just observed right now, right, guys? Like in that 5-hour time frame where we can see that these are the smaller stair steps that are taken into consideration before we can move on to the upside in the macro time, right? So a lot of that is something that has to be kind of observed here too. Next, when we're getting here a type of pullback like the way that we're getting, we have to understand the dynamics of time as well. So we know that we also got a daily closure, right? So this is our new day trading, and typically speaking, remember what we say, 60 to 70% of the time there is a 30 to 50% prior bar pullback, and that is where on the daily time frame, right? Your equal move, right? Your equal move would probably be around the areas of 314. So if we kind of put, you can't see it right now, but this thing just showed up there because I just drew, a horizontal array. So let's put that array there and kind of look at where that target is, right? So we just spoke of those potential targets to that downside, right? We spoke of, this is it here. And I was just talking to you about a similar target at 318, and this thing is drawn close to 315, right? So the discretion is meeting that 50% retrace pretty close already. You know, my own unfiltered, just my unfiltered human touch to it is already kind of observing that 50%, right? Newton's law is a real thing here. So we have to kind of, you know, not respect it, but need it. We're going to need it in some way, guys. Okay, so the top side, I know that we got this 338, right? But I do think that this may be the high for the next couple of days before we can make a next move up. We're going to get accumulation, what's called accumulation, right? But why would that happen? I can already kind of see why that would be the case, though. Now, if you don't quite see it yet, then I can just display it to you here. We'll check it out. There is the possibility of building our left-hand shoulder, right? The head, our right-hand shoulder, and takeoff. So there is that possibility of just getting a short-term distribution, right? So that now is making me feel that, holy crap, you know what? It's not only the daily retrace of the 50% that we could be getting here, but what else or what other time frame has closed to give us that probability? So we're actually really close to closing the buy daily, not yet. Okay, here we go. 3-day time frame. We got a new 3-day open, right? Check it out. So we have now that potential to pull back the 50% of that prior bar. That's leading to $3.11. If we kind of show what we were doing here, it shows that $3.15, or it's pretty damn close. It looks like it's in the middle, the daily retrace, right? It's in the middle from our discretionary area and a 3-day time frame. Let's keep on going. Let's see what else closed. Okay, we're really close to closing the 4-day too. Really close to closing the 5-day. And let's keep on going. All right, and we just got a closure of your bi-weekly bar. Okay, so the biweekly bar is interesting because the biweekly bar is this one, right? And this is our newer one that's been open for a day and a half or 2 days, right? So that means that we could be getting a 50% retrace to the upside of the biweekly, which was right up here. And that makes a really interesting target, doesn't it? What target is it there? Okay, whoa, it's 315. So we're retracing to an average of 315 from your 1 day, your 3 day closures, right? But it also seems to be the 50% of the existing bar that we're on right now, where the prior weekly bar was at that 315. What happens when we break out of a resistance? We just said it, right? The stair steps. We come back and validate. So this is also a sense in a stair step too. We broke above the 50%. There's a probability of coming back down and testing the 50% before continuing to the upside. Dynamics are normal here. I do see it as a high probability. So aside from this, do we have any exotic times that are closing? Like, for example, a 3-week time frame? Or could there be like, what about a 5-week time frame or things like that, right? All we have to do is really just look, right? How about your 10-day time frame? Now, I know that somebody could say that this is a bi-weekly, but it's not a bi-weekly. It's 10 days. A weekly bar is a weekly bar, and a 5-day bar is a 5-day bar. A 5-day will introduce to you more grain than a weekly would introduce grain, right? Okay, so I want you to focus on this. Your 10-day bar is about to close. Now, if we're talking about 1 hour prior to the daily candle closing, we'll get a retrace, right? So that's your power hour, what they call in equities. Okay, great. What about your 2-day? Well, 2 hours prior to the 2-day time frame, closing, you'll get that retrace. See how the time frame is counting down? So when the clock shows on a 2-day, 2 hours to closing, that's usually it starts retracing either down or up, depending on which direction it's been going. Okay, cool. Now, what about a 3-day? Well, that's 3 hours. 4-day, 4 hours. Now, when we start jumping into the 5 hour and to the weekly, we start adding a little bit to it. A discretionary amount that we can add to it, right? Alarm has to stop over here. So, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so what we do there is then we start counting a discretionary amount of upside. So your 5-day time frame will add a 5.1 or 5.2 hours prior to it closing. Your weekly time frame would be around 6.3, 6.5. So let's just say 6.5 hours for a weekly bar to retrace before it closes. Okay, so if we're on a 10-day bar, how much would it be? Well, that would be roughly around anywhere between 10 to maybe, 11 hours, right? Look how many hours it has. It's at 8.5 hours to closing the 10-day bar, and it looks like it's retracing from that 338 top, right? So the dynamics of price action are working because these are embedded behaviors. These are behaviors that the asset has been experiencing since its birth back years and years ago. So no matter the SEC running that, the running case against Ripple officially over, no matter the 401k, no matter whatever you have to do in the day, like maybe you have to go to the office and pick up something because you forgot it and you need to come back and it's really important. No matter that, you still kind of need to go to the bathroom when you need to go to the bathroom, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's a bottom line behavior that is embedded to it, that has a higher probability of realizing first before the outcome of all the secondary catalysts realize. The moment we can understand that as traders, the more powerful we're going to be. This is all psychological. We are used to this. The representation of this chart is us. This is entirely retail. So if we can understand that, then we'll be good. Okay. So if we're talking about 10 hours, 11 hours roughly to retrace from a 10-day bar, what's the 50% of this 10-day bar? So let's go ahead and observe. So it's saying that it would be around the area of 304. Now, here is my question to many of my master students as we go. By the way, the link in the description below, if you still want to sign up, we've just done week 1. We're going to week 2. Make sure to get yourself signed up. Okay. What could it be, right? Well, let's look a little further up. We need to look at confluence in price. What about here? What about this area of around 313.38 and look to the left? You see, look at my cursor, right? All the way over here. You see all these closures here and openings there that are exactly the same as these over here. That's called an invalidation of a play. It may work or it may not. I may be wrong. I may be full of shit and none of this works. But the higher the amount of confluence and targets that you can face, the better the outcome will be for a potential bounce. Okay, so I'm expecting here the target of around 313, right? 313.38 averaged around to 314 or whatever. But what was the target that we just spoke of that we got from the retraces of your 5-day, your retraces of the 1 day, the 3 day, what retraces of all this crap, and then also the 50% equal move to the downside, Newton's law? What was it? It was $3.15. Do you see how all of this is starting to kind of jumble into one concentrated area? That's because that's us, guys. We're doing it. The letters, the step ladders, right? And we're retracing down to a zone for the next area to continue. We got another 315, 313 in there. So all of that area is telling you that roughly we're here to make a pullback to validate supports before we can continue on to the upside to roughly 313 to 315. Let's make sure to get this validated. Now, does that work for XLM as well? Of course it works for XLM as well. There is a massive amount of price action that it just completely like ignored, right? That like it just broke out of. But you can see very clearly, let me just lift this up to at least a daily time frame. You can see very clearly that this was your trough. This was your trough. And look at all these candles over here that are very much alike in this area. Look at this one here where price action is literally sitting right now, right? And we said that we got a potential, we said that we got a 3-day closure as well, right? Okay, so there's a 3-day closure on this too, but the 3-day time frame is showing you that there could be a pullback to maybe 42 cents on XLM, maybe all the way down to 41. Well, in this case, we have to also invalidate that play. This is telling me that whenever XLM drops, it drops in comparison to XRP, XLM has more of a sensitive downside than XRP does. So in this case, what I can see as invalidating, my goodness, right? So what I can see as invalidating here, guys, would be that target. What? Can we just stop this real quick? There we go. We can see that, yes, this area here is one, right? Look at the bottom of that wick right there. Take a look at these two candles right there. They're right here, right? And then look at this one right here. All of that, right? All of that. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. We're also within a very nice area, but I do expect this to give us a short-term bounce before we can validate the secondary zone. So this is what I mean, right? We just have to observe the bigger probability, the likely outcome for us to know where it's going to be. And look at this. We spoke about the USDT, the tethered dominance, being the inverse correlation, telling us that this was already at resistance, and this is likely to drop to what target did we say? We said that this would drop to 4.26%, and what's our low on this? We dropped to 4.27%. Before any of this happened, before the catalyst happened, before we knew any of the 401k happened, for all the people that say the charting doesn't work. The charting doesn't work is saying that you don't work and your psychology isn't real. It's saying that you have nothing to do with the price action of XRP. I don't think that's actually accurate, and I disagree completely. You know what I mean? Whatever the case is, it just, I mean, you can believe whatever you want, but that's not me. So yeah, guys, let's go ahead and just take a look at the probabilities of retracing to a certain target. And hold on, here's the thing. I don't have to redraw anything for you, and I don't have to look at volatility or nothing. Why? Because I have a feeling that we already have the target listed here for you. Not the 318, no, but look right here, bam. Actually, it looks like I'm a little off, right? Let me bring it back down to the target where it should be. Right there, 13.1582. What about the downside on this, right? Let's go ahead and observe the bottom area, and it looks like it's right on the money from the other one that we said, 13.1538. But this one is 13.1532. So our discretion was already leading to that target anyway. And now what is this target exactly? Let me remind you what that is. Do you remember that we spoke of this zone, 318, and the area of 315 as being the zone that we would need to validate to get to the top side target, the genesis of the formation, the broadening wedge. That broadening wedge is the genesis of the formation is take profit here at 315 to 318. And now that we broke out of it, We reach the area of around 340 and we come back and validate the break. You see how all of it makes sense. You know, guys, I didn't pre-plan this. I don't own XRP, and there's no way I can make this thing do what I want it to do. It just is what it is type of thing, right? So I hope that this is a pretty good explanation here over what could be happening. But the one ticker to look at, just to kind of finalize this, the one ticker to look at and observe, use Ethereum. Ethereum is going to be the one that would essentially work with XRP for its major movement. XRP is already reaching the topside targets of $4,000. I expect Ethereum to be above $5,000 in the next weeks. It's given that we have the same, sentiment and everything is looking good. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good place to leave off. Please do me a favor. Make sure to send over your proof of purchase and your trading view username to arcabulls@gmail.com so that we can get you lined up with either your enrollment for the beginner's course or your new algorithms. Okay, guys? Well, thank you so much, and I will speak to you very, very, very scary Larry soon. All right, team. Adios, everybody. Peace, 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 and peace. Please take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Ever, 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 ever. I need you to do your own due diligence, and everything will be cool. But with that said, team, I wish you well, a very, very good rest of your night or day, and I will talk to you at the bell on Monday. Adios, team.